Hello everyone and welcome back to Color Scholar. Today I will show you how you can create realistic scenes using simple tools like dodge and burn, some blend modes and layer styles in Photoshop. So without wasting any time, let's get right to it. Create a new document and fill it with color 9E6945. Make a new layer above it and fill it with white. Then add some noise about 40% and motion blur twice. Give it a chrome effect from filter gallery. Now change the blend mode to linear burn and merge the layers. Make a selection of wooden plank using rectangular marquee tool and keep it in another layer, and using dodge and burn, give it shadings. You can hold shift to make horizontal strokes. Invert the selection and do the same thing for the bottom part. Duplicate the wooden plank and squeeze it vertically to make a decorative skirting board. Merge the layers, and we will use this piece of wood to make our door. So create a new document and start building the door like I'm showing you. Using the same piece of wood, you can make different parts of the door. First create two horizontal bars, then the vertical one, and follow the same step and create inner frame as well. Just duplicate the planks that you're using right now. Now I'm creating corners. You can lower the opacity of the vertical bar, and using pen tool or any selection you can make a selection from diagonally and delete the unnecessary parts so the corners fit perfectly. You can even adjust the position of the door wherever you like. I'm dividing the door into two parts. The upper part will have glass and the lower part will have woods. Now using eraser, I am setting up the corners. I'm deleting the corner sides of the woods so that they merge together properly. Now I'm using the same vertical wooden plank to create wooden rails which will be behind the door in the wall. I'll make another flat one at the bottom as well. And I'll just continue with creating the door for the bottom part using the same woods. Use eraser tool to correct corners. Here I am going to make a duplicate copy of a wooden plank and flip it horizontally to make the decorative skirting on both sides. So the door and the wooden rails are ready now. I'm going to desaturate the door and apply curves to make it a little darker, and holding my Alt, I'll use the same settings for a wooden rail as well. And I'll clip them to the wooden rail and keep the respective parts in the floor. Now I'll create a new document, and in here I'll be creating the design for the wallpaper. So use a hard round brush at 100% opacity and just start creating a design. It doesn't need to be perfect because we will be duplicating it multiple times and creating canvas full of design. I'm using mouse to create this design, so if you have a tablet, it will be even more easy. Just create whatever design you like, and make sure you are making a design on a new layer and not on the document. Now when your design is ready, keep it at the corner and start duplicating it and merging it, and this way you can make lots of design very quickly. The goal is to fill the canvas with the design, so keep on merging and duplicating the design. If the design is too big, you can use transform and make it a little smaller. When a single line is completed, duplicate the line, bring it down below, and keep on repeating the process until you have the canvas full of your design. After you are satisfied, merge the two layers. Then go to filter, emboss, and with height 4 and amount 25, create an emboss filter and put on some color using hue saturation. Then merge two layers and bring the wallpaper to our working document and put the wallpaper in between the two wooden rails. Make the wallpaper document small and create multiple copies. Unnecessary parts can be deleted using eraser tool. Now we are going to ease the wallpaper by putting some clouds or rendering some clouds in a new layer, adding some noise as well. Now we're going to make the wall for our image. For that, we'll use the foreground color and background color as light brown and dark brown, and in a new layer we'll render clouds. Add some noise and blur it out. Use the hue saturation to control the color and create a mask and remove unnecessary parts of the wall from the image. Now we're going to create tone paper effect for the wallpaper and the wall as well, but we'll start with the wallpaper first. I'm using rulers so that I can make straight lines. And using pen tool, I'm making selections which I will delete using the layer mask and fill it with black. I'll repeat the same process a couple of times more. Make sure your mask is selected. You can use any kind of selection tool. I'm using pen tool. With the mask selected, you can create the tone paper effect like I did right here, and you can make a small one on the top as well. Let's do the same thing for the left side as well. When you make a path with the pen tool, if you press Ctrl plus Enter, it will make a selection. This will make the work efficient and quick. Now I'm making a selection around the tone areas. And I'll fill it with light brown and dark brown to make it look more real. After that, add 2% noise. Now we're going to use the same wooden plank used for the door, and we'll copy one of them and bring it to the canvas and put it right behind the tone wallpaper effect. Squeeze it to make it thin and create multiple copies by pressing Ctrl plus J and Ctrl plus T to transform it up. Merge all the layers together and create a layer mask, and using black color and hard round brush, remove some of the areas of the wooden plank to make it appear damaged. Desaturate the wooden plank. Convert to smart object and copy the same effect for the top tone paper as well. Add a little bit of drop shadow to the damaged wooden planks behind the wallpaper. Now make a new layer below the torn wallpaper, and with your brush tool selected, soft round brush and opacity and flow about 20%, draw some shadows of the wallpaper behind the wall. Follow the same step for the top part as well. Now we'll create the same edge effect for the wall as well, and here again I'm using the rulers to make a straight horizontal lines, and using pen tool I'm making selections. After the part is complete, Ctrl plus Enter will activate the selection, and you can fill it with black as we are using mask for this purpose. Now fill the background with suitable color so that the tone effect looks close to real. You can make some parts broader. You can always change the color of the background to whatever suits your image. Then using the same wooden texture, I'm going to create floor for the image. Put it below all the layers and squeeze it and transform it in perspective, and you can do that by pressing Alt plus Ctrl plus Shift and dragging with the mouse button. Now desaturate it and decrease the lightness. I'm making the corners of the door right now, removing the corners a little bit using my black hard brush, using the layer. And now I'll start making the window, and for this I'll take a new document, and using elliptical and rectangular marquee tool I'll make a selection of the window and fill it with color light blue, and create a mask and start deleting the parts to make the shape of the window. I'm using rectangular marquee tool with foreground color black as I'm working on the layer mask. Then in the new layer, using hard round brush, I'll create a sinister figure. It doesn't have to be perfect as we are going to blur it out anyway. After that, merge 3 layers and blur it 7 pixels. Then add glass effect from filter gallery using the following settings. You can use hue saturation to add color to the window. I'm using yellow. Then add in some noise, about 2 to 4 pixels for the window. Then I'll make vertical lines in a new document using rectangular marquee tool and gradient with foreground to background selection. Make sure the foreground and background are black and white respectively. Create a single gradient and using Ctrl+J, duplicate them like we did for the design, and keep on duplicating until you've got enough vertical lines that you can use for the window. Merge the vertical lines and bring it on top of the window. And change the blend mode to multiply and adjust opacity to about 15 to 20%. Now we'll create doorknob, and we can use rectangular marquee tool, fill it with gray, and we're going to use dodge and burn tool to add some shading to the gray slab. Using rectangular marquee tool, make a small rectangle inside that gray area and invert the selection by pressing Ctrl+Shift+I, and use burn tool to add shade to the area behind the small rectangle to give it a 3D feeling. Now again make the selection of the rectangle and add 2 pixels of stroke through edit. Make sure the color is white. Now we'll be creating keyhole, and we'll use elliptical and rectangular marquee tool to make the shape and fill it with black. Then we're going to add in layer styles, bevel and emboss with the following settings. You can play with the settings as you want. Then we're going to make some screws for doorknob, and I'll use elliptical marquee tool to make a circle and fill it with gray. Then I'll use bevel and emboss in layer style to give it some depth. Then I'll create another small circle in a new layer on top of the previous circle, fill it with gray and apply bevel and emboss as well to give it a look of a screw. Now merge the two layers, duplicate the screw and bring it down below. Now I will create knob for the door using elliptical marquee tool and fill it with gray and use dodge and burn to give it some dimension. Use drop shadow in layer style to give shadow to the knob. Now put everything for the doorknob in a group. Use curves with red and blue channel to give it a golden color, resize it and place it on the door. Create a new layer below and add some shadow to the golden slab. Now we will use the same sphere from the doorknob to create door hinges. Using rectangular marquee tool, make a small selection of the sphere like this and then press Shift plus Ctrl plus Alt and down arrow button to extrude the sphere. Make a copy of the sphere using rectangular marquee tool and bring it below to complete our door hinge. Now place it on the right side of the door and make a couple of them and place them in 3 places. Select 3 layers and make them a smart object. Create a new layer below and use it to add shadows. Use labels to darken them. Select the layers for the hinges and keep them in a group. Now I am adding some text for the window. I am using Didact Gothic font and size 6 points and 3 points for the 2 text layers. Then I'll create a line between the 2 texts. Select the 3 layers and convert them to smart object. Then add bevel emboss, stroke and color overlay to the text layer. At this point we can darken the door and wallpaper using blend mode for the door and curves for the wallpaper. Now we will create switch using elliptical marquee tool and fill it with gray. Contract the selection by 4 pixels and invert the selection using Ctrl plus Shift plus I and using dodge and burn, give shades to the circle and make it a sphere. Now create a ring in a new layer using elliptical marquee tool and grey color. And add bevel and emboss layer style to it. Add in a drop shadow as well. Create a small circle within the ring in a new layer and add shading to it using dodge and burn. Now using rectangular marquee tool, create a switch and fill it with grey and use dodge and burn again to give it some shading. After that, select all layers for the switch, convert them to smart object and use curves to darken the switch. Put them in a group, adjust the size and position of the switch and put it beside the door. Now I am making jacket for the switch using the same principle of dodge and burn and grey color. After that, I'll create pipe for the electric line. And I'll sample the color from the wall. And I'll use dodge and burn to give it some dimension. After that, I'll use the same technique to create clips for the lines. And again, I'll use dodge and burn. After the lines and clips are complete, I'll add in drop shadow to make them look real. I'll use 2 drop shadows for the switch box. Now I'm using elliptical marquee tool to create lamp for the corridor. I'm using a flat yellow color. Cut out the upper part of the lamp. And use dodge and burn tool to add shading. Now create a new layer below the lamp, and using soft round brush and white color, I will create light backdrop behind the lamp. Now I'll create a light bulb in the lamp using grey color. And give some shade to it. Then I'll duplicate it a couple of times and make them 3. I'll remove the top part and give it a black shadow. and selecting the 3 leads or bulbs, I'll add plastic effect from filter gallery, which you can find in artistic section, and then I'll give it some green color using curves. Put all the layers for light bulbs in a group and adjust the position and size of the lamp. Now I'll create a new layer on top and fill it with dark grey color and change the blend mode to hard light to give it a shadow effect. Using layer mask, I'll remove the dark area from the window of the door. Now I'll create a triangular light above the light bulb using layer mask and black brush. Then I'll switch to quick mask mode, pressing Q on the keyboard, and create 3 light rays coming from below the lamp from the 3 lead bulbs. I'm using brush tool and holding my shift key to create straight vertical lines. After satisfied with the selection, I'll press Q again to get out of the quick mask mode, and selecting the layer mask, I'll fill it with black. With the layer mask selected, I'll use my soft round brush and white color to remove unnecessary lights from below. Now I will create light leak below the door by creating a new layer, and the blend mode will be color dodge. The color will be white. I will then apply a layer mask and use my gradient tool to control the amount of light coming from below the door. With the layer mask selected, I'll use my soft round brush and create some light over the wall to brighten the corridor a little bit. Then I will darken the scene a little bit using curves. I will flatten all the layers by pressing Shift plus Alt plus Ctrl plus E and apply high pass filter at 60% opacity to sharpen it. The blend mode will be hard light for high pass. Then I'll flatten the image again, convert it to a smart object and go to camera raw filter and make the basic adjustments there. And that's it, we have successfully created the scene from scratch in Photoshop. I hope you like it. Thanks again for watching. If you liked it, please subscribe to my channel for such interesting videos in the future. I hope to see you back again. See you next time on Color Scholar.